Really, I enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to this next one. I'm sure it's going to be just as fun, especially trying the different facilitation styles. I think that'll be a good activity.
Christine, did you say where you were thinking?
We haven't decided, we haven't figured all those details out. We want to make sure that, I mean, we want to be really conscious about what we're spending and how we're doing this. I mean, you know, we actually spent quite a lot of time, like, you know, finding different places. I mean, I just thought, in fact, I don't know if Jeff, if you use this or if other people in the Concord area use the shaker table, but for $9 a person, everything included, that was freaking awesome. It was really great. So we want to be really creative about having a space that is welcoming and allows us to do the things that we want to do, that doesn't feel, you know, too formal, but we also want to stay within a budget. So I think that we just want to be really thoughtful. We don't have any actual numbers. Maybe, I don't know when NHARPC is next going to be meeting, but we should be able to, you know, in the next month or so, have some numbers put together.
Other questions, comments? I know, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Christine, you were anticipating a registration fee of some kind?
Well, that depends
Would
on
that cover all
cost,
the
right?
costs?
So we have a budget, which was what, was it 3,000? I don't remember on the NHARPC budget for the luncheon and this. And the luncheon cost, like I said, under 300. So we have what's ever left of that budget. So if we can do all of this within that, great. But if we need to charge $5 or $10, then we'll go from there. 3,200.
Spent
Yeah.
$270.
Yeah. So we got about, you know, $2,900.
How long was the cocktail hour? 15 minutes?
It is,
I think we need to work on it.
Talk
it's
fast.
45 minutes.
Oh, that's great.
Christine,
Yep, go ahead, Dave.
what would be the chances of having it at the Quaker Village again? Would
Oh,
they be
I don't think it would hold it. I mean, they have a
Yeah,
maximum. And they also don't have sort of like the break-off places that we would really need to do that facilitation thing, so. But if anyone has any ideas, I mean, I'm hoping, maybe I'm being crazy, but I'm hoping that 75, 80 people come. I mean, if we got 30 people to come to the luncheon, I was really happy with that. So if we can at least double, if not triple this, I think that would be fantastic.
Would you consider, and you don't have to answer it now, considering that the food was prepared by the local regional vocational high school?
The community college. yeah.
Community college, would you do something at one of the colleges that have a culinary arts program that would also have breakout spaces?
Maybe, yeah, if you have any suggestions, let us know.
Okay.
Laconia has a good one.
Okay.
Well, Laconia is the one that caters at Canterbury.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my understanding is they're pulling the culinary program back to the college too. So Lakeshore
Oh, really?
Community College
Yeah.
could probably handle the number of people and have the same fine food.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Other comments, questions? Christine, I know Bob from Baba Jefferson, Stratford, has talked in the past about the possibility of sponsorships and
Yes.
things of that sort.
Yep.
Was there any discussion about?
Yep, well, that's why I said we were gonna try to keep it within
Right.
that budget, and then we'll look elsewhere, sponsorships, doing whatever we can. And then, you know, we'll, you know, it's sort of a first stab at this, so we'll kind of feel our way through it and see what kind of appetite there is for it, and, you know.
So we are going to send out a solicitation for volunteers again, right?
That's a good idea.
For people-
Yeah, well, we did get a list, so I'd
Okay.
like to try to figure out how to put that list back together. I was just, you
Okay.
know, I mean, thought we had everyone's names down, but we don't, so I'll go back to the list and we'll maybe make some phone calls and just make sure. But there's definitely some places in here where it'd be really helpful to get people's input on what we're doing, so.
Great. Thank you.
Does it sound good? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so it sounds like the consensus is move full speed ahead.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. The update from the New Hampshire Municipal Association conference.
So I can give that. I think the intention would be fairly brief, but just to report back, I think folks in this room know that the NHMA held its annual conference on November 12th and 13th. In fact, maybe some of you were there. And this association, the Association of Regional Planning Commissions, sponsored 3 different sessions. So on the first day, on the 12th, there was a session on statewide asset data exchange system. Looking at what that program is all about, and since regional planning commissions are involved in that, the acronym being SADES, so we're active in it, felt that it was a good session to sponsor. On the 13th, there were 2 sessions, one on telecommunications infrastructure in New Hampshire, and that looked at broadband and cable franchise agreements and what municipalities ought to know relative to telecommunications. And then also a second session on that same day on culvert assessments and road stream crossing studies in New Hampshire communities. So I don't know if anyone around this table had a chance to sit in on any of those sessions. If so, you might want to share something, but I just thought I'd report back to, we've generated a history of partnership with being involved with sessions sponsored at the NHMA conference.
The culvert one was good. I went to that one. That was the one that Collis Adams had to run.
Who?
He's the DES administrator, the water department, whatever.
Yeah, I think it was 3 RPC staff who did the
I'm
culvert
thinking
assessment.
of
It must have been a
one.
different session.
There was another culvert maintainer program. It must be something else,
Okay, yeah, there were a couple on the program.
Culvert-related, yeah.
Culvert-related, right. This was more the, doing the inventory to look at erosion and how some of our transportation infrastructure is at risk due to heavy rainfall events.
But the telecommunication was quite good because Bob Chiandellis, he knows that area pretty well.
Yeah.
That's a good presentation. And his partner, Miller,
Kate Miller.
yeah, really, that's a good presentation.
Other comments, feedback? In terms of having we had a booth there as well.
That's right, that's right.
Do people feel as though, I mean, that's part, that's sort of the cost piece. We are invited to do the presentations, but there's the cost of doing the booth. Is there any sense of whether or not it's worth doing that? Should we be thinking about doing that again next year, or is it not worthwhile?
I think having a presence is always important, and particularly to the degree that staff and/or elected officials from the municipalities are participating. It reminds them what the regional planning commissions are and why they need to continue to support them, what their investment is doing. I think it only can go to continue to, recognize the work that the RPCs do.
Okay. Other thoughts?
No, I think it's vital, I really do. And I think, and I'll say that we weren't even there, we didn't, it's just one of those years, and I think that, the RPCs are kind of like sometimes people can really, be engaged and other times not. And I think in the future, we definitely will, and I think that it's really important to be at all of those types of things.
Okay. Yes.
Well, only from the point of having to put it together.
Yes, that's.
I know it was quite a bit of work, and a couple of the RPCs stepped up, and I thank you very much because we were looking at having all kinds of time slots with everybody volunteering to fill them. So to continue forward, I'd like to see more participation for that.
This is one of those great examples of it's great to do it, but you need many hands and many feet to make it really work well. So to the extent that we agree that this is a worthwhile way to have exposure to what we do, we need to put some time to where our commitment is.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be just those of us that are on this table.
Oh, no,
It could
clearly
be
not.
some of our staff can certainly play that role of watching the booth.
And other commissioners.
And commissions, absolutely.
Anything else on that?
Well,
Yes.
I just, the value of being involved in this, there's a commitment that comes with it. And I did the booths arranging the scheduling before Becky took it on because I gave it up because I had similar issues that Becky encountered this year. But the agreement, the contract that you have with the municipal association is that you will man the booth have a person in the booth the entire time. So it's a contractual agreement, and we need to honor that, and that puts pressure on whoever it is that's agreeing to put this together and schedule everyone. So it's really important that we all take a share of this.
Okay. The 2015 legislative session. So for a general overview, Nancy, it looks like the next several agenda items are yours. So let's get started. So general overview. And then the
Did we
calendar.
already do this in June?
No.
June?
Or are you looking forward?
And we're looking forward.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, we were talking about what had happened, now we're talking
These
about
are
What's
just
going
the
on?
LSRs.
what we're doing.
Might happen.
Yeah, might have.
We're gonna prognosticate.
Okay, as you know, there has been an election. And as a result, there are new reps.
Do you know if the committee chairs are selected yet?
They are today.
Did you find out who they are?
They should be online this
Sometime today?
afternoon.
The Senate we know
The
already.
Senate, we know.
Right.
The House, there are some chairs I can guarantee will not be chosen, because there are two camps going on right now. It's the Jasper camp and the O'Brien camp. And the O'Brien supporters did not win, and therefore they will not be appointed chairs.
Any Democrats gonna get chairs?
No.
What about committee
No,
assignments?
Jasper has already said they will all be Republican. Which rightfully so, they won the election.
David?
Nancy, what about committee selection, members of the committees?
Yeah, that is done by the Speaker's office
And when will that be done?
this afternoon. It should be
All-
out.
Both the
But
leadership
it will be in the calendar, and usually the calendar is out. Today's Thursday afternoon. It could be already, but I chose not to bring my computer.
Okay. I think we're looking at
Are you looking at?
I'm checking the House Committee Chair report, does you,
Yeah, no, that
it
wouldn't
doesn't,
be.
it's not ready.
that. Not yet.
Apparently it's not ready, but,
So Nancy, in terms of your read of the election and the people that either have been reelected from a previous time or new, any sense, from a general perspective? I remember a number of years ago, there were so many new people that there was a lot of sort of energy that was consumed just in getting things organized and working and things of that sort. Do you anticipate that kind of a thing happening again, or do you think?
it is not unusual every election that 1/3 gets turned over. So we have a 1/3 turnover, which brings up the next point. And this is just a suggestion. We have done it every 2 years. And that is, we have gone to the chair of the Municipal and County Government Committee and asked to have, because they're going to do, bills will not be assigned to committees right away. So they will be having like orientation for the new members and the old members of committees. And it doesn't have to be just municipal and county government, but that's, in many times, we spend a lot of time in there. Although when you look at the RSAs, and this is just my best guess, there are a number of issues that could end up being almost anywhere. But municipal and county government typically is one of our targets. And I think they appreciate the fact that a number of groups, and there will be a number of groups, come and do an orientation, especially for the new people on the committee. We don't know who's on the committee yet. We don't know who the chair is yet, but beginning early in January, that will be definitely set. And they will not be working on bills yet. So,
And we have done that in the past. We've offered to do a general orientation.
yeah,
Okay, and you're
but
suggesting
we
we
have
do that
done
again?
that. I think, was you part of that? No. I know Kim Collette certainly came. And there was a discussion with the new members, and they appreciate that. It gives us an opportunity to say who we are again. You know.
I think it's just a very smart thing to do.
Okay. So there's a recommendation from our legislative consultant to be proactive and offer to introduce ourselves and give a short presentation of what regional planning commissions do. I am looking for somebody who might be willing to volunteer to kind of coordinate that, to head that up.
And we're looking at, 15 minutes, 20-minute presentation.
Correct. But it might be, having a presence there and setting the time and the date, things of that sort. So,
Yeah.
is there anybody who'd be willing to volunteer to kind of chair that or honcho that initiative?
Which committee are you talking about, Nancy?
Municipal and county government.
Municipal.
It could be Representative Belanger, who will be chair of that. I will not be surprised.
We'll find out when we find out.
What time, when are you talking
I
about?
definitely would do it.
In the House, the Municipal and County Government Committee.
Is that Jim Belanger?
Oh,
If
man.
that's the case, I would definitely be willing to go do a presentation.
Okay. And look at kind of coordinating what their presentation might be. Okay, good.
I think we did one, David.
We did do one.
Yeah, what is it?
2 years ago and 4 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you'd be willing to take responsibility for that, Carrie, that'd be great. And work with Nancy in terms of the specific timing and
Okay.
what issues get presented.
Perfect. Yeah.
Great.
And Terry, I'll
I
glad to
agree,
work
it's
with
just
you
a
on
smart
that.
thing.
Okay.
And David's agreeing to
So,
assist.
Okay, so you
so
two
that's
will,
kind of my general
kind of code.
overview.
okay, good, thank you.
Legislative calendar,
Could I ask, did we clarify when that should happen, time-wise?
well, let me put it this way in terms of the calendar. The last day to sign off on a bill is January 9th. After that, they will start being assigned to committees. So I would say early in January.
The first week.
That first week is good, but see, they have to meet.
Right.
So we have to watch the calendar and see that they're meeting.
And they have to accept our offer to come,
Exactly.
so.
And depending on who the chair is, that person may say, not interested. I can't imagine.
So all we can do is offer, but at least we're targeting the beginning part of January for that. Okay.
And they have to meet. So whoever the chair is, it would be a matter of communicating to that chair and seeing what the chair's preference is.
Okay, good.
So again, the last day to sign off is January 9th.
Is
There
this
will-
the Senate area house?
Yeah.
Well, the Senate has a different timetable, and it's very flexible for them. There are, I know I've said this before, there are bills that senators can hold back on past the 9th and say, do not, you won't even see it on the LSRs, do not release that until I tell you, to legislative services. And the House can't do that. They have different rules.
So the deadline of December the 5th was for the LSRs, is that correct?
December the 5th.
Yeah, that was a week ago last Friday.
Yeah, that for the House.
For the House.
For the Senate, it was Today is Friday.
It was yesterday.
Tuesday at noon.
New, right.
Right. But you can, in the Senate, I don't want to confuse this, but in the Senate, you can file late bills. All you need is permission from the Senate President. So that's why sometimes we see Senate bills appear in February that we've never seen before. So it can happen. I don't know what Senator Morris's theory is on that.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Yeah.
So from a calendar perspective, are those is January 9th kind of the next important date?
Well, January 8th also, there's a joint convention, which is the Senate and the House meets, the governor gets sworn in. It's a very big ceremonial kind of thing, if anybody wants to go. So, as of yesterday, there were not 718 LSRs, which is, it's kind of low. I mean, the first session, it's not unusual to have 1,000 bills. Right now, we only see 718. I'm sure there are more today.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the retained bills of interest?
Yep, retained bills, we had House Bill 286, which was relative to broadband infrastructure. The sponsor of that was Representative Townsend. We supported it. The committee report is coming out, ought to pass as amended for January 8th, and the vote was 13-5. The amendment to the original bill, in my opinion, did not dramatically change. I have a copy of it if anyone wants to see it. For example, it says about to be purchased or constructed in areas not served by an existing broadband carrier or provided. That's been replaced with providing broadband services to municipality, including at a minimum those areas of the municipality having no service or no adequate service. Kind of the same, a rewrite of the same kind of thing. I mean, it's amazing, this is, you know, we've been watching this, we've had this bill over and over again. And it looks like it is coming out of committee with this recommendation of ought to pass. It was 13-5, different people involved now. It should be an interesting floor discussion. For January 8th, which is, for January 8th, so the House is meeting on the 8th. They'll have the joint, and then.
So other ones besides House Bill 286?
Nope. We had House Bill 1202, which was a commission to study revenue alternatives to the road toll for the funding of the state's highway and bridges. It was Representative Young's bill. We supported it. What the recommendation was recommended for future legislation. And what that means is, we're just saying as a committee, we would support that someone file a bill. I don't see that someone has yet. And that may be the result of the change in the toll tax. And then there was Senate Bill 408 relative to aid for regional agreements of watershed municipalities. This was Senator Fuller Clark's bill. It was just a watch. It was referred, typical Senate, it was referred to interim study on March 27th by a voice vote, and there it is. So you know, it's year one, anyone can file anything. So when someone makes a recommendation for future legislation, doesn't mean it's going to happen. There is the, relative to the broadband infrastructure, it looks like, well, it's going to the floor on January 8th.
The broadband?
Yeah, the broadband, and we were supportive of that. So those are the retained bills that were of interest to us.
Just those three?
Yes.
Good.
Yep. Yep.
LSRs of interest at this point.
Yeah, and I sent
Is that the
you-
email that you sent out
Yes.
I did.
yesterday or the day before?
I did a LSR's title, sponsor.
Yep.
We don't know the wording of anything, we can only go by titles. Anyone?
In the email that you sent out, there was a page 1, and it looked like there was a page 2 and page 3, but I didn't get information other than on the page 1. Where?
It's about 1.5.
It's about 1.5 pages.
Okay.
Ken and I have trouble with our emails.
The other two are just.
His email
They were
doesn't
just
talk to
halves,
my
okay.
email sometimes.
Okay. So I was sort of surprised that the list wasn't longer. Is that, or do you think?
Well,
it's-
there's 20-some.
Okay.
I suspect we're going to end up with, after, and I'm hoping everyone does, be critical of what I've done. I made best guess. I know last session, one of the comments that were made, or recommendations / comments that was made, is we really need to watch bills that impact our communities. And so I took that quite literally. So things that are on here, LSRs, that impact, for example, relative to powers of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, I can envision that at the end of the session that I will be doing a summary that you can use for your communities to say, look, these bills that failed or passed or were amended and passed or whatever have an impact on your...
Actually, our next agenda item is going to be to talk a little bit about what that format might be and the frequency, things of that sort.
So the list, while it may be shorter than it's going to be, I took things very broadly and added LSRs that I'm thinking, if it impacts your communities and you want to, at the end of the session, to communicate how the legislation impacts your community, then I took this quite broadly. So, but I would encourage anyone to check out the LSRs. Again, be critical of my work. It's not mine, it's yours. And, you know, say, you know, you missed this LSR, this is really important, or we don't feel this is important. And some of this, I'm sure, could be done over email. Maybe if it's communicated to Ken, and Ken is authorized to communicate to me, to say, no, yes, that would be great. Because the next time we meet, they're in session.
Things will be well underway.
Well underway. Hard to believe. So if there's any questions or anything I can answer, I'd be more than happy to.
Okay. What I do want under this next steps category is to talk a little bit about what our process might be this year.
No, go ahead.
But in terms of questions of things that Nancy has covered so far, Christine, do you have?
No.
Okay. Questions?
So if there are other LSRs that we see of interest, do we send them to you or flag them and somehow add them to this list?
That's a good point. So let's talk a little bit about sort of one of the dilemmas has always been the fact that the extent to which the Senate does things a little bit differently, so we don't necessarily know at this stage what bills are going to be. The fact that the description of the bills sometimes are not real accurate in terms of what the bill actually says is another challenge. And the fact that things happen on a weekly and sometimes daily basis, and we don't meet as a group on a weekly or daily basis. So we've, during the time at least I've been involved with this group, there's always been discussion about sort of how actively involved does the whole group want to be, and what kind of authority should get designated to a smaller subgroup. To the extent that people have taken the initiative and have expressed an interest in a particular bill, and they've written up the letter that goes to the committee, that gets sent to me, make sure that at least the way that the phraseology and the way that the letter is set up is, there's some consistency in terms of what comes. I forward that to Nancy, and Nancy generally is the one that acts as our courier in terms of getting that information to the committee itself. Occasionally, there are times when members of this group are available and want to testify, and they can bring their own letter and things of that sort. So,
And I will to try to cover myself, there is never a session that we don't miss something.
right.
So,
Just because of the pace and
and or the title may be extremely deceptive, and we don't have it on our LSR list, and then suddenly, you know, you're sitting in front of municipal and county government and you're going, where did that bill come from? It's not on our
Croc TV.